Good morning, friends. Good morning, audience. Uh, Unlike any other day today, the subject is a bit religious. So I've been observing for a long time, ever since I came to the US, like that's in 1981, uh, some biblical accounts and narrations and so on and so forth, uh, some of which I really never took serious. But then today, I wanted to say something about the treatment of Ishmael, the son of Abraham, in the Bible. Now, the Bible has different versions, and depending on what you do today, New International Version, King James, Living, blah, 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 they're different. It's also different from what was in the past. The modern day Bible is pretty much a remaking, let's put it this way. It borrowed a lot. Like in the past, the ideas of the Bible were borrowed from the surrounding areas. After the appearance of Islam, the Bible was redone again, and last I looked, the Bible is constantly changing, so to speak. Now, and then I heard a lot about Ishmael, son or Ismail, son of Abraham, the first son of Abraham. And there's like vulgarity about him. Sometimes they say, I read in one of the Bible, I think the New World Bible or whatever it is, they describe him as a wild ass. Others, they describe him as going everybody, like wild, and he's going to be against everyone, and everyone is going to be against him. And it's appalling. It's like depressing to see that. If Abraham had two sons, how some people try to stereotype and denigrate the other, right? The older one. I mean, here's what my advice is. If you have more than one son, or more than one child for that matter, try to imagine people talking about your children similar to them talking about the two children of Yitzhak, of children of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Ishmael, right? And see if you can accept that notion or that concept. But today I decided to switch roles. Instead of me being this Muslim, right, who's got some from Ishmael or those ancient Arabs in me, right? Not all, but some. I decided to switch role. Right now, we Muslims revere Moses and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and we don't badmouth other people, right? We have a lot of respect for. Our Quran has a lot of respect for Jesus and Moses, and they may be different approach, right? Like Jesus is a man, and but no, we don't badmouth other people. If we wanna declare others as wrong, we say they're wrong. We don't curse them. And it's been said in the God said in the Quran, like do not curse other people's gods, or like so they won't like. And there is such traditions of the Prophet, respecting other people's books, and it's there. It's really there. So finally, I got tired of us being silent, being respectful, and them being so vulgar, right, about our prophet. And you got like entire masses in the West and here and there believing that stuff, right? Even though I told you, if you read different releases of the Bible, different versions of the Bible, you'd see different wordings altogether. Sometimes some books are discounted, but that subject is well known to historians. But today, what I'm trying to do is play the Jacob's advocate here. It's no, Sarah's advocate. I'm gonna play into Sarah's hand and say, and then I'm gonna weave that. So when Sarah, so bear with me for a second. I'm just like being a little bit Jacobites here, right? And then when Sarah realized that she couldn't have children, and then she was 90 years old. No, she was younger, a little bit younger than that. She brought her maid. Some people say slave. No, not slave. They're a maid, right? She was maid. So there are different. between slave and maid. Not that there's something wrong with the slave. If I come from was born to a slave woman, guess what? I would brag about it and being proud being the son of a human being that made slave by wrong, as we Muslims emancipated humanity, right? Prophet Muhammad, and so on. So it's not a shame being a son of a slave, or no, not different. Not now. I know being I now assuming the role of Sarah's son, right? Uh, they take offense if you tell them that the Jews in Egypt were slaves. Oh man, they just go haywire. I wouldn't do that. Why would I want to do that? At one point in human history, some people were slaves. Like if you go search your ancestors, right, all the way to the beginning, right, you will find that at least one of your ancestors maybe has been at one point or one time or another a slave. So it's no big deal, being son of a slave, right? And if my people were slaves in Egypt, guess what? Hey, they were liberated, and that's fine by me. Now they don't talk much about like we sons of Sarah. We don't talk much about Babylon, right? We talk about Egypt, and Babylon was also it was clear slavery, right? Anyways, the subject is this, and then Sarah, of course, gave her maid to Abraham to have a son from her, because it was known back then if a woman couldn't have children, she would give her maid or her slave to her husband, and then she would own the children. They become her own children. So the poor mother of Ishmael or whoever it is, they just watch their son being raised by their mistress or their master, right, or their employer, because she was a maid, right? And a maid back then, it was similar to a slave, not a slave. If the maid decided to leave, she can leave, right? Or even if slave, if they decide to leave, they can leave. It was hard though. Anyways, and she had a son called Ishmael. However, Sarah didn't like that, because now Hagar loved her son, right? Oh, that woman! How could she love her son? Hello, right? And then she started teasing. They said she started teasing Sarah about being like fertile and Sarah being barren, described in the Bible as barren, right? She couldn't have children. So now Sarah didn't like that. So she ordered poor Abraham, what a sucker he was, right? She said, take the slave girl and put her in the desert, throw her out. So the guy, like being a sucker, typical, like wiener, not wiener, how should I put him? Typical wimp, right? He took his son and threw him in the desert. Well, that's not the story, really. That's not what happened. He took him for a certain reason. And that reason is, oh man, you guys don't know. I'll tell you later. Of course, we saw Islam afterwards from that move of his, right? There's a plan. Anyways, now she didn't like that. So now, after expelling or exiling Ishmael and his poor mother, right, into the desert, she saw of them no more. However, Abraham kept visiting his son, right, between now and then. And then she decided to make another pass. And this time around, Sarah, I'm assuming the role, right? Our mother, like Sarah, venerated Sarah, decided to have another try, to make another attempt, if you will, another low pass, if you. So this time around, she wanted to make sure that from prior experience and how the mother of the child loves her child, and then she couldn't have like sole ownership of the child, and she decided to have the child, same attempt like that she did Hagar, right, or Hajar, but this time she didn't want the mother around. So she devised a scheme nobody knows about. It's not in the Bible, right? And she kidnapped a son, right, from certain woman. Either she killed the woman or she did something there, and then suddenly there's apparently that infant. Poor Abraham. Now you may say, oh, wait a minute, that's her son. It's in the Bible. Really? So you scientists, you human beings, do you believe that a man like Abraham, 100 years old, and his wife, Sarah, supposedly his relative, right, who's 90 years old, described in the Bible as barren, had a son called Isaac? If you do believe so, I I'm going to go back to become Ishmaelite again. So, but I'm going to continue playing the role here. So she managed, unless you believe that, right? She managed, and then now later on, Abraham, poor Abraham, it's a father's feeling, right? He began to realize that he's raising someone else's son, and he didn't like that at all. He didn't like that at all, so to the point he was so distraught, up to the point that he decided to slay his son, or that boy who turned out to be, according to him and his understanding of the situation, somebody else's son. Now he was also destroyed that he threw his own son out in the wilderness, his own genetic, biological son out in the wilderness, and now he's raising a child that apparently he realized is not his. So his distraught, about his own son being in the wilderness, carried him psychologically into the periphery, right? He began to deviate from normal behavior, and then he decided to slay that son, right? That child, because it's not his son, and he was so angry that so and so. Now Sarah apparently had contacted some relatives, and those relatives are those your typical PhD psychologists from New York and Berlin and here and there, those old, So they came there and said, look, your husband is emotional, and he is humanistic. That's Abraham. So what you do is, if he wants to go kill him, you send him people pretending to be angels and give him a lamb, so he takes it out on a lamb. So this is psychologically a very advanced concept. And they, of course, come back in time. They travel back in time to New York, and they wait for the news by reading the Bible to 5,000 years later, right? And then apparently what happened there is very simple. When Abraham decided to slay his son, that's me talking, playing the role of Sarah's grandchild, right? He gave it a thought, and he thought, why is this child, this boy, should suffer and be killed? Because it's not his fault, right? If that woman kidnapped him, she already put him in distress and removed him from normal life with parents, and now that Abraham is going to, kill him. So for him, it was total injustice. And then emotionally, he got reversed right there, and then he was humanistic, and then felt bad for the child, for the plight of the child having been kidnapped, and now he's being subject to being slaughtered and away from the parents' love and affection and loyalty, and so he reversed himself. Being so humanistic, he reversed himself and decided to adopt the child and make him his son, right? And he did. So I could tell you this, folks. If you want to believe that, go ahead and believe it. I have looked at preaching here in the United States, and I found so much wrong with it, so much errors, so much injustice. I looked at all black African American preachers, and I listened to them keenly. They talk right and left gibberish, and in their rabble rousers, and they rouse everybody into shouting and singing, and but not 1 minute in their speeches and their sermons, and not one time I heard somebody speak for the blacks and their plight, and what they should do and how they should be led out of bondage, and not one time. A black preacher is doing two things: satisfying his backstage people, in the backstage. Two, getting some money. Three, he doesn't give a shit about his people. Oh, excuse me, no, right? And that's all there's to it. Why does a black person come, a simple black person come to a church? Because they need community, right? And they know that, those preachers know, those evil preachers, they know that, and they capitalize on it, that's all. I drive into a black community, and oh man, it's appalling how human beings should live like that. If Prophet Muhammad was alive, or even Abraham, right? Oh, they would make an invasion and clear things out and take those people out of bondage, black or no black, right? And I look at white preachers. They preach hate. 99% of their speeches is about anti-terrorism and anti-Islamic and anti-Ishmaelites and so on. But last I looked, they're not even Christians, right? They're something else altogether. Meaningly, they're the children, supposedly they believe they're the children of Sarah, right? And I don't know who made them think that, right? And the 1% is about rapture. Rapture. Rapture, this guy Darby from England in the 1700s thought he discovered some kind of a thing, right, in the Bible that's like rapture, and you hear people like, I read bumper sticker saying, if at one point the rapture happens, be careful, driving, because this car is going to be empty. And I'm like, no, it's not going to be empty. The car is going to be raptured, and you're going to be around. So, anyways, it's ugly, folks. It's ugly. It's all deception. It's all psychological spin zones. It's all about keeping certain power, right? So that's me reversing roles. Now, I heard that Ishmael is so hated by those people that if you read, for example, The Tempest of Shakespeare, who's a Jew, right? I'm sorry, he's a children of Sarah, like I am. Supposedly, there is such lineage, right? He talks about Caliban, right? You know what Caliban is? It's close to an Arabic word, Kalban. Kalban means rabid, like from rabies, rabid dog, right? That's what he is. And that's supposed to be Ishmael, right? Because later on you get like people talking about hag seeds. When you hear the word hag, that's Hagar, right? Hag seed and so on. And it's ugly, folks. You know how some people live in such a mindset, and the scope of their understanding is so limited by this wide world, and so this big world and humanity and so on, that they end up focusing about the hag seeds, right? The Hagar seed. It's like that, folks. And one of their main supposed Iraqi, Ofadia Yusuf, who was like this big grandchild of Sarah in today's state called Israel, right? He accuses God of having made a mistake creating those Ishmaelites, right? I mean, how could you accuse God of making mistakes, right? He doesn't make mistakes. Unless if I want to consider myself a child of Sarah, and then he made a mistake making you, motherfucker. I'm sorry about this, but sometimes I get this Dr. Dre symptom or syndrome, because I lived in the hood when I was young, right? When I came to this country and I was young, right? I lived in the hood and worked in the hood, right? Worked in the hood, and I acquired this language I can get rid of. Between now and then, if I want to talk sense to somebody, I use that term. And blame Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and all those brothers, my bros, right? I blame them for not taking care of their own community, not opening business in their own community. They try to always satisfy the bank, right, and the investors. So anyways, that's where it is. Now, in our, I'm going to go back a Muslim again. In our religion, nobody is evil. We're all slaves, and none of us is a slave. And Abraham and his two sons were good people. Ishmael considered his brother a brother, right? And he played with him. And he used to take him and teach him archery and so on. That's Isaac, right? We don't have these hateful concepts and whims and notions in the Quran, right? No. And when we focus on evil, we focus on one entity called Satan, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Some people think Satan is an entity, and that was in the Quran, right? And the word Satan is really from Arabic, shaitan, right? Shaitan. Now, I'm going to explain this to you so you would know what it is. Shaitan is an Arabic word, really, and it made its way around through scriptures and so on. And he is described in the Bible focused upon as an evil entity, right? Not in the Bible, in the Quran, I'm sorry. As an evil entity who is anti-human, who is out to destroy humanity and so on. And there's an advice in the Quran to avoid him by all means. I make this clear myself, right? So there are people who believe the other way around, dark, black and white, and that he is the good God and our God is the evil God and so on. Look, I'm not God to account you here, but all I'm saying is that's what Islam is all about, right? Now it gathers all evil into one entity. So you as a human being, you cannot be evil by yourself. Something else is producing evil in you, right? So at the end of the day, or you're a good human being. So back to shaitan. Shaitan is from a template or root in Arabic. Arabic, unlike any other language, has 16,000 roots. Like Latin has 1,000 or 900. Hebrew has like 2,500. And others have like around that or even less. Arabic has 16,000, and Arabic has something grammar called grammar. Oh, that's like 16 tenses, sophisticated, and. The only other language in the world that was similar to it was actually the North Germanic, right, in Germany. It had something similar, many roots as well as a grammar thing, and I can tell you that one came from the other. There's way back in time, there's relationship between these two people, right, in the peninsula and North Germany and so on. But nonetheless, the word shaitan comes from the root shatan, shatan, Shatan. Shatan is deviate, a deviation, right? So shaitan is the deviate. He deviated from. So sometimes you hear people in the Middle East calling their children you shaitan, meaning you like mischievous, right, or deviate, right? They don't mean like you're a creature with horns and stuff like that. Now later in the ages, some evil people started portraying Shaitan as like a goat with two horns and so on and so forth. That's not what it is, folks. Shaitan is a deviate being, right? That's all there is to it. And in the Quran, where it says like, وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ. That means in the first of the Quran, they come to you and say, we are a believer, we are believers. But when they go back and then they have solitary or confined meeting or private meetings with their shaitans or satans, he doesn't mean that they're like horned beast and so on. He means they're people, evil people, right? And they try to work out their minds and to keep them under wrap, right? Under their thumb, and they don't want people to be free from ideas and so on. So that's the word. That's where it comes from. Like if there's any modern definition of Satan as like this beast with horns and so on, that's modern. That's from after Islam. In Islam, shaitan is not something that has horns, right? Or whatever it is, right? It's an evil being. That's all. He could be beautiful. He could be ugly. I mean, look like humans, right? So that's what shaitan is. And then those people adapt his ways and means, right? So back to our subject. We like Muslims, we look on two people as being misguided. That's all. But they're people. Whether you're like as glossy black as like painted something black, or you could be as pasty as butter, or you could be as brown as I am, and so on. For Islam, you're all the same. It doesn't force you to who you associate with or who you marry, or no. Islam doesn't do that. No, it's your choice, right? But good people, good people. That's when you go to the mosque, you see that. You see like there are black people, there's Asians, there's whites, and like we sit down as all these barriers of race and colors and notions, and it just breaks down, and we're all the same people right there. And that said, I'm going to go back now to being son of Sarah again. I'm going to read you something from the Bible, and I want you to think hard about it. So I'm making the assumption there's time travel here. Today back all the way to Moses in Egypt, or Abraham and Sarah, right? And then back and forth, right? Back and forth. So today the investors make like trips back all the way to Egypt. And then back then they come here and they go back again. So there's like a bridge between. So Exodus 12:36. 12 is the 12 tribes. Now, this is just the number, right? And the 36 is the 666, right? And then I'm going to read you, like, it's different, right? From one version to another of the Bible. But they all denote the same thing. And then I'm going to read you. The Lord had made the Egyptians favorably disposed toward the people. and they gave them what they asked for. So they plundered the Egyptians. Plunder? Okay, let's read from another one. And that's from King James, right? And the Lord gave people favor in sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. Really? All right, so now another one. And that's speaking about the Jews, right? Okay. The Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the Israelites. That's like me playing the role of son of Sarah now. Okay. And they gave the Israelites whatever they asked for, so they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. Really? What do you think? I'm going to rephrase this in modern term, right? And the Lord said unto the Israelites, go into Egypt. And then he made other, oh no. And the Lord said unto the investors, go into the West, open stock markets, open stock markets, crooked brokerage houses, and scoundrels, and crypto Jews, or cryptocurrency, I mean, and then strip the world of its money and lay them to waste and put them in the dust. And they did, and they got help, and the Lord made the rulers of the West and the East and the Middle East abdicate their seats of power, or they were made to, right? To the Israelites, right? Yeah, the Israelites. And those guys helped steal, fleece the nations out of it, and spoiled them, right? And gave that to the investors. And the Lord looked favorably upon those. But that's not Exodus. I'm going to put it in Habakkuk, or Habakkuk 12:23, or 12:6, or 12:53, right? Habakkuk. No, Habakkuk. That's the book. It's called Habakkuk. So people, you Christian, you can believe all you want. If you entertain such notions, like this here, when we in Islam will go around, God sent Muslims, those Arabs, as the other half of Abraham, right, into the world. He didn't tell them go spoil them. No. He said go lift them up, raise them from the ground, make learning a mandatory thing, like a worship. Make learning, make justice, make economy, disabuse people, make it for. In fact, here's the deal for you. Prophet Muhammad is the founder of the modern civil state. Before Muhammad, there was no state like we know today. It was a king and vassals, right? And he owned everything. There's no justice, of course. After Muhammad, there are departments: treasury, justice, judicial systems, police. They invented the police. And the sanctity of the individual's liberty and his and respect for his life and his honor and his and that didn't exist before. The civil state mean country, right? Government. The civil government was established and founded by Prophet Muhammad, the illiterate man in Arabia, son of Ishmael. Have a nice day, my friends, and I repent. I seek, may peace be upon the Prophet Muhammad, and I repent from playing that role, because I think that's ugly stuff right there. I don't look at people this way. I don't deal with them this way. And my consideration for them is not like talking animals or sub-ape humans or whatever it is, like goyims and whatnot. No. We Muslims don't do that. I encourage you, whoever you are, to just go once on Friday, pray up to a mosque, right? And visit. I don't think nobody is going to say don't come in, right? Yeah, just respect the place, be clean and so on and so forth. Just look around. Even black neighborhood, just go, like, sit for prayer. You don't have to pray, just watch, right? See how they welcome you, right? And see how they're so indifferent to you, whoever you are. And see how they're, like consoling the smiles, the beautiful, earnest smiles and so on. Not everybody is perfect. You're not going to find everybody is perfect. And don't be a fool. right? Let people take advantage of you, because we Muslims are not all perfect across the board. Have a nice day, my friends, and I seek refuge and forgiveness from Allah for playing that ugly role. Otherwise, I had no choice but to say so, because I keep hearing things about Ishmael and his the hag seed, and and the Caliban and so on, how they denigrate the man. It's just weird, man. I mean, if I was Abraham, if Abraham was alive here, he would like do a number on you for talking like that about his own son. He was humanistic, he was a loving person. He was humanistic. He was the friend of God, right? Because he was so passionate and so clean and so erudite and so. And do you read stuff about him in the Bible that that his Sarah is related to him, and what he said to her to do in Egypt and so on? All that is lies, folks. All that is lies. They performed, or they devised these lies and these accusations to justify their own deranged and vile ways and means. Look, it's in the Bible, so we can do it, right? No, you can't. It's a lie, folks. That what they describe Abraham of is not true, folks. Sarah was not his relative, and he didn't say that to her in Egypt. He was a man of honor. He was a brave man, and you wouldn't resort to the ways and means that they resort to now, and they try to say, oh, their grandfather did it. Have a nice day, my friends. Good day. Back to the coffee.